I'm going to start off right away with an acknowledgement to country. For me, it's the Awabakal and Worimi peoples. I'm on one of those border lines. So yeah, just take a second while we're all settling in to just do your own acknowledgement. Just paying respects to elders, past and present, and the wonderful elders who are emerging. So this is a webinar, meeting, chat, whatever you'd like to call it, on accessible social media. My name is Beck Hogan. Here is a photo of me looking very good, very trim in Jersey in the Channel Islands in the UK. It's one of my favorite photos because I look very skinny. There's also my Instagram handle, which I thought I should include because social media. So, jumping right in, here are the aims for today, what we're going to work on. I'm going to do a bit of a brief breakdown of the major players, the big social media platforms, particularly in Australia. I'm going to do 10 tips for how to make your social media more accessible. And I'm going to be speaking really broadly on those tips because it's really easy to do lots of deep dives and talk about gamification and DeepMind and AIs, and it can get very technical. But today I'm going to focus on specific things that you as an individual can do right now to make your social media, your businesses, your public pages more accessible to people with disability. Nope. Sorry. Damn it. I leaned on the wrong thing. Right. So back to that. I'm also going to mention a few useful apps that I personally use. And then we're going to have a nice long discussion session because I found, particularly when I do these sorts of chats, that I have some very specific questions that I would like answered. And so I've left a fair bit of time at the end. So I'm happy to take really unique and specific questions. Just hold them till the end. All right. I'm just chucking this in so that we all have a very clear idea of what the official definition of disability is. This is from the New South Wales Disability and Inclusion Act 2014. Disability includes a long-term physical, psychiatric, intellectual, or sensory impairment that in interaction with various barriers may hinder the person's full and effective participation in the community on an equal basis with others. I like this definition because even though it's wordy and clunky and comes straight out of a government book, it's the easiest way to get a clear idea of what disability is. It also touches on the social model of disability, which is what I personally define disability as, which is the social model of disability, for those who aren't aware, is seeing disability as the result of interactions between people living with impairments and an environment filled with barriers, physical, social, communicational. And it's those barriers that are the problem, not the people, obviously. So that's just the official definition that I'm going to be working off and my own personal definition. Okay, so when I say accessible social media, who does that actually benefit? And surprisingly, as with most things, it doesn't just benefit people with disability. It also affects friends, family, colleagues, people with lived experience, those with temporary or situational disability. For example, my cousin who fell in a hole and broke his leg in 3 places, literally 3 days ago. It also affects older Australians. This is particularly relevant because older Australians or older people are one of the fastest growing groups that use social media. And of course, it makes social media more accessible to cultural and linguistically diverse people. So, accessible social media benefits a lot. So, why should you care? Why should you bother making your social media more accessible? And as my little Giphy cat is suggesting, he's just shrugging. Who cares? Now, there are some legal issues, is perhaps the best word. It's not legal as in law, but governmental communications in particular have to comply with accessibility standards. And also, if you're interacting with people on the NDIS or quite frequently, there's some bylaws that sort of indicate that all your communication should be accessible. But it's not quite law in social media terms. It's more to do with communication in general. Interestingly, though, social media is becoming more and more legally, what's the right word? Basically, what you say on social media is becoming legally binding in terms of tweets, Facebook messages, and even just very recently, things like defamation, to the point where you can get sued for what you put on your social media pages. Though that at the moment mainly refers to publishers and media organizations. But it's something to think about, that it's becoming more and more common. The other reason that you should care is that it broadens your audience. 1 in 5 Australians, about 18%, and that's off old statistics from 2016, have a disability. That's about 4.3 million people. It's probably even more. And another 22% of Australians have a long-term health condition. So basically, there's a lot more people who you could be talking to, who you could be sharing your message with, that aren't getting it. Aside from these very clinical things, it's also quite a nice thing to make sure everyone can get the message and is feeling included. But there is one very practical reason that accessible social media is good. Because best practices for social media equals accessible social media. Most of the tips, almost 90% of them, are exactly the same as general tips for improving your social media. So the things I'm going to talk about how to make your social media more accessible directly correlate with general good advice for improving your social media, getting more followers, getting more reach, engagement, all that stuff. So these two things are directly connected. Right, let's get into it. Any questions before we go on? No? Good. Quiet from the crowd? Good. All right, here's the big 4 main players: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook is the biggest. It's a massive multi-million-dollar company. It has the most varied and the highest engagement with the most number of people. YouTube, while starting out life as a video sharing platform, has transitioned into a social media platform. Influencers can talk to their fans, and they have posts, and there's social interaction there. They're also working to polish. They've moved away from their original sharing videos between friends and moving more into polished professional videography. Instagram is one of the few social medias out of these that is still growing, particularly among younger people and emerging markets. It is owned by Facebook, and it is mostly visual. It's just sharing photos, basically. And Twitter. Twitter is text-based, short messages, and interestingly, it has a very low rate of take-up in Australia, in particular. Australians aren't really engaging with Twitter. And I just wanted to chuck this in. Even though I work in social media, I work in this sector, I spend a lot of time on social media for work, not for pleasure. It's work now. These are for-profit businesses. They have their own agendas. They have their own bottom lines. And even though I'm going to be focusing on these 4, there's lots of new ones coming up. It's a constantly changing market. And I imagine even in 5 years, some of these will be obsolete. Just chucking that out there. Not endorsements of these businesses. Though if Facebook wants to chuck me some money, I won't say no. All right, so here are my 10 tips for accessible social media. I'm going to go into all of these in detail, obviously, but here's just a little overview. So number one, I will come into in just a second. Number two is captioning, and then we've got alt text, image description, general advice on text and using text posts, the About Me section, which is an accessibility option, you will find out. Things like camel case, emojis, representation, the accessibility features of specific social media sites, language, and connecting with the community. Now, some of these are obvious, some of these you're probably going, what's that about? But all will be revealed. So let's jump right in. All right, here is the easiest, but also the hardest at the same time. When you are creating content, when you're doing a post, when you're interacting with your social media account, think about accessibility from the start, not as an afterthought. One of the biggest issues particularly with content or even posts, is that it's at the very end where accessibility features start to be thought of. And it's usually at that point when, there's no time, there's no money, we didn't plan for that. Oh, what are we going to do? Let's just not do it. And so putting accessibility features into the workflow of your social media is the easiest way to just do it. And it is like the easiest thing to do, but it is the thing that people do the least, which is why I put it at number one spot. And, once you get into these habits and you establish these workflows and you start shifting your mind, that it just becomes, it's just another part of the process. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. And then it's done. And then, oh, look, more people are engaged. Everyone's happy. World peace happens. This is the power we possess as people who use social media, obviously. And as our little friend, whatever his name is, the guy from Transformers whose name I've forgotten, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. What are you waiting for? Just do it. So with the most obvious and the most difficult out of the way, let's get into some more practical options. This is more cerebral. You have to sort of think about it. But let's get into some practical tips, things you could do right now. Number two, include captions in your videos. If you've ever typed into Google, how to improve my social media reach, you probably would have heard this. 80% of videos are still watched on mute on Facebook, which is, aside from YouTube, is one of the biggest video sharing platforms. Videos with captions increase the view time. People are more likely to stay on and watch. And this was an interesting fact that I found out, and this is from Facebook's own research, that people who watch videos with captions are more engaged. They're more likely to remember what they saw, they're more likely to connect with it, share it, all that sort of stuff. And, it's not just people with hearing difficulties or, anything like that would appreciate subtitles or captioning. Everyone likes them. It's just a thing that on social media really can benefit your videos. Give them legs so they go further. Now, adding captions to videos has actually gotten a lot easier. There's a lot of programs nowadays that are auto captioning, that use AI to build the files for you. Sorry. There's lots of third-party apps. There's ones on your phone. There's programs in particular that you can download and they will do it for you. There's also free ones. YouTube/Google and Facebook both have auto captioning services that they offer on their websites. You can't rely on them, but they're an excellent tool to use as a base. And I'm going to get into a few specific tools further down the line. One thing I wanted to add briefly was on the final point there, which is about audio description and audio described videos. Now, because social media is different from videos on social media, I should say, are different from other websites or, you know, TV. A lot of them are either they don't have audio or the audio isn't relevant. For example, you know, if it's just like, here's a picture of a nice beach, that doesn't need any audio. It doesn't need captioning. And if conversely, the other side of that, interviews or music, if they're audio led, they don't need to be audio described. It is still one of the least available functions to make videos more accessible, but there is stuff in the works. There isn't a lot happening, unfortunately, but it's sort of, there's moves in that direction. So I just wanted to touch on that briefly, and something to keep an eye out of. All right, so you've probably heard me say the word subtitles and captioning interchangeably, and a lot of people do, but I just wanted to break down what the difference is. So a subtitle is a straight up written word of what a character is saying, whereas there we go. Whereas closed captioning also includes basically any sound that's relevant. So, you know, it's not just her walking through the road, the woods. It's from Twin Peaks, FYI. So it's not just someone walking down the street. There's a romantic scene playing out and the music is indicating that. And so that's the big difference. Subtitles are just words, whereas closed captioning is also sound effects, important sounds. Subtitles assume that the person watching them can hear, but needs clarification or dialogue in the form of text, whereas closed captions assume that person watching cannot hear. And so it would need descriptions of other sounds that are happening. That's the key difference. So they're not actually interchangeable, even though I myself have been guilty of swapping the two terms around. Right. So obviously closed captions are the best, particularly because they just give more information. Though I am going to break down the best practices in just a second. In my opinion, closed captions should be hard-coded or open captions, except on YouTube, because on YouTube, the algorithm doesn't like hard-coded captions. Interestingly, I'm not sure why, but I've read that. But for any social media, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the videos should have hard-coded captions. So here we've got two examples. One is a very straight subtitle. She's talking about the picture on the left. It's a woman talking to the camera. She is talking about news. She's talking about Jupiter. She's making a joke, and it's heavily word-based. The information is based on what's being said. Whereas the other picture is more animation. There's audio, but it's more the kind of thing that people would just watch without actually listening to. It's an ad for an app, and they've used some creative captioning to, draw people to their app, to click on it, to swipe. So just because you're doing something accessible and useful doesn't mean it has to be particularly straight-laced. It's more about looking at the type of video you're making and going from there. Here's one example from Landline that I particularly liked because it's the same video and they have example of creative captioning or summarized captioning, but they also have straight closed captioning for the interview section. And so, if you've got, for example, in this example, a dog running around. You don't really need the audio because it's clear it's just a dog running around. And I think in this video, there was just music under that part. So it's just explaining what's happening. It's just, oh yeah, you know, here's this guy, he trains dogs, but he can't because of coronavirus. And then during the interview, they have an exact quote of what he's saying. Okay, so I just wanted to briefly touch on a few useful apps in particular. These are ones I've used personally. They're just the easiest to get a hold of. As I was mentioning before, YouTube and Facebook both have auto captioning services. Now, even 5 years ago, I wouldn't even be looking at them. But quite recently, you know, AI and voice to text software has really gotten quite good. And so they're an excellent base. And it means you can upload your video and then you go through to the captioning section and you just have to make a few changes usually. I think there's a few issues with the Australian accents, but this is a really easy way of just, I'm getting pop-ups. Oh. Sorry, I just realized that people were chatting and I didn't even notice. I'm very sorry. I'll put that there so I can see it. So yeah, Facebook, YouTube, their auto captioning services are really quite good. And I would recommend them because they're free and they're easy. And if you're going to upload the video to these platforms anyway, it's worth having them. You can also recently download the STR file, which is the official subtitle captioning file that all platforms will use, including high-end video editing software. So you can upload a video to YouTube, use their free captioning service, and then download the file and use it on different videos. There's also Otter AI, which has a paid service and a free service. I've used it quite a lot, and I haven't actually reached the limit for the free service. But it can take a bit of time, but it does tend to be better with recognizing audio and specific words. And then there's a few apps that are really good for on-the-go type stuff. So iOS, Clips, and iMovie are really good. I recommend Clips because they have this feature where you can, what's the word? They auto caption, as in you can talk in the video and it will auto caption what you're saying. It's not perfect, but they're quite useful, especially for on-the-go things. And Android, I've used AutoCap before. So again, these are just ones I've used in my out and about. So take from them what you will. Definitely not endorsing them, but all right. So alt text and image description. I think I have the wrong number there. Sorry. So alt text is basically alternate text. It's what the computer, it's what you put in the place of an image. People who use screen readers use alt tag and image descriptions to get a better idea of the image that is on the screen. They also help with search engine optimization because they're extra keywords that you can add to your posts. And alt text is what is displayed if if an image is not working. If it's broken or the image has been deleted, then the alt text will appear in the place. One interesting thing that I didn't realize, and I don't think a lot of people realize, is that you cannot, when on social media platforms, you cannot add alt text to GIFs, and which makes GIFs on social media quite inaccessible to visually impaired people. So when doing alt text or image description, I'm going to focus on alt text first. Best practice is to close your eyes, and if someone can read the text to you and you've imagined a reasonably accurate description of what's there, then that's a good example of alt text. Here is an example. And then we have 3 tiers, I guess, of alt text. Boring would be woman on hill. Okay is woman on hill looking at the ocean. And at the end, we have a detailed description. Blonde woman standing on a grass-covered hill, looking towards the ocean on a cloudy day in Golspie, Scotland. Image descriptions, while similar, are slightly different. They're more public. They appear at the bottom of the post, and sometimes they're more detailed. People tend to add more detail in image descriptions as opposed to alt text, particularly because alt text on social media, there are limits to how many words you can put in. And this is mainly to stop people from using alt text as a keyword stuffer, which is quite easy to do. You know, when you go into alt text, you type in the description, but you also add like fun and cool and follow for follow or whatever spammy keywords there might be. So that's why there's sometimes limits on alt text. Whereas image description, you are limited mainly only by the post size, which in Twitter is a concern, but with all other social media, it's not really an issue. So we have 2 examples that I quite liked, particularly the first one, which is from the University of Rochester in the United States. And they have a GIF. And they say GIF, erupting plasma seen from the surface of the sun. Simple, easy, didn't really add to their word count. Easy to do. And like I said, because GIFs, you can't add alt text for GIFs. If you are going to use a GIF, particularly one that's relevant to the story or what you're trying to say, then you need to add that in, because otherwise it's just blank space. Any person who's using a screen reader just won't be able to see it. And another example is this one that I found on my own feed, and it's actually from a Savoy ad, not a Jats ad. And they appear to have put the wrong text in their thing. But it's an image of a visual quiz with a picture of a Savoy biscuit on the left, but to the right side has a piece of cheese on top. You have to click to answer what is the best way to eat a Savoy, eating either solo or topped. I don't know anyone who eats Jats or Savoys by themselves, but I thought it was quite funny, and it's got a very detailed image description. Carly Findlay is also quite good at doing very detailed image description, particularly on Instagram. I think she also does alt text, like I think she uses the same text for both. And because Instagram is 90% visual, it's just photos, you have to describe what it is, otherwise there's no point. And she's done a really detailed description. You know, a woman with a red face and short dark hair, tied back, secured with a colourful headband, wearing a yellow, green and pink, purple and white daisy print dress. She's also wearing leggings, and she talks about her flowers and the background, and it's really detailed. I mean, it doesn't have to be that detailed. I think she's going quite detailed just because that's her preference, but that's an example of really detailed and really just putting in that little bit of extra time to just really describe what's on the screen. Right, halfway through and I'm right on time. I was a little worried about running over or running under. All right, text posts. Text posts are arguably the most common form of social media post. It's just words, basically. With text, quite simply, keep your text posts as short and succinct, direct as possible. Use link shorteners. This is also just best practice because if you use a link shortener, instead of having a massive long link, that sort of adds to your word count and jumbles up, makes it look a bit messy. You can just shrink them and it's the same link. Also with I will talk about those in just a second, John. Actually, I'm going to talk about all those in the next link. Just on text, I left this quite brief because it's kind of just a general reminder of like easy things you can do to just make your text posts a bit more easy to read and a bit more likely to get read is perhaps a better term. There's a lot of content out there, there's a lot of stuff fighting for people's eyes, and having text that's too long, too clunky, too difficult to read, using overly ornate fonts or difficult, pretty graphics, but difficult to read, people are just going to keep scrolling. So keep it short, keep it sweet, keep people's attention. Here's a few just useful programs, particularly on these sorts of things. Canva has some accessibility features built in terms of design and AI, and it can sort of tell you a few things. It's not great, but it is there. Word also has, because a lot of people, you know, you write it in Word and then you copy and paste it. Word also has accessibility features built in terms of readability and things like that. There's also Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, which are two online aids, I guess, writing aids, and they have inbuilt accessibility functions that, you know, you can sort of change the settings to make them more accessible, and it'll tell you if your words are too verbose or if it's too clunky, or, and of course Bitly, which makes your links shorter, which is free, but I think they do have a limit. If you use it like 10 times in a row on one day, it will ask you to make an account. But maybe if you're making 10 short links in one day, you should get an account. But those are just some good ones. Okay, now this is one that most people don't think of as an accessibility function. Now, having a clear About Me section is an accessibility function because it makes navigation easier. And as I mentioned before, these are businesses. They have their own agenda, they have their algorithms, they have things that they're doing. Having your About Me section filled out allows you to direct people back to your website, your platform, where you can control the narrative. So good components, good accessible components of social media profiles is, you know, making sure your name is clear, relevant, something that is easily associated with you, particularly your @ or your hashtag, because this is how people find you. And just because Facebook has more grunt, because Twitter has more grunt, because Instagram has more grunt, if you type these into Google, a lot of the times the Facebook profile is going to appear before your website. And so having that clear, accessible, like, this is the name, I know this name, I know this logo, will really be able to let people find you, let people direct themselves to your profile and then to your website. It's the same with your link. Having a clear link, particularly in things like Instagram, where they control how many links you're allowed to post. It's just about, you know, connectivity and making sure that you can control the narrative a bit more and that people can find information easier. A lot of people will check Facebook before they go searching on the websites. And so having the information right there, you know, it's set out a specific way, you can change things, edit things, so that the information you want is at the front. And so, you know, if people are looking for a video or information about a specific event, Facebook has, you know, the tabs, Instagram has the link, and you can just sort of fill in the information quite easily. And because it's all set out the same way, it makes it more accessible for people when they're trying to find things, particularly if you have quite a big website or if you've got a lot of things going on. This is a really easy way to just, here's the information, here's me, here's a photo of me, here's my email, here's my website, here's my phone number, blah, blah, blah. And so just having that all filled out will really streamline information and make it easy for people to find things, which for some people with disability, it can be really difficult and really overwhelming to find specific information. And so if it's just there on your profile, it's like, oh, here it is, and here's the website, and great, thanks, done. I'll share that to all my friends. And then your post has more reach. Okay, so wonderful world of hashtags, or the pound key, depending on how vintage you are. So camel case looks like that. It has capitalized letters. Each word has a capitalized letter. These are particularly handy, both in terms of readability in general, but also particularly handy for people with screen readers used by the blind or visually impaired people, who would hear the hashtag as just one long gerbil of words, as opposed to, you know, a coherent message. It also makes them, yeah, like I said, it makes them easier to read in general, and all the social media platforms treat them as the same hashtag. They're all covered under the same umbrella. They're not separate. So the Me Too hashtag, if you use ME all lowercase, is the same as capital ME, capital TOO, or TO. I think I spelled it wrong. And also emojis. Now, some people don't like to use emojis, particularly businesses, which I don't understand, because, you know, emojis are a part of the internet culture. They also help with tone, which can be quite difficult to comprehend in social media, particularly with just text. Make your posts more relatable. They're also really good for breaking up large blocks of text. If you have to write something big, you know, if you've got a specific message that's difficult to break down, you can use emojis to sort of act as, you know, dividers between points. And it also helps people's eye continue down. That said, it is important. Yeah, Sophia, you just type the caps yourself with camel case. It's just the same as any other hashtag. You know, Shift C, MEAT, Shift T, whatever. It would read it as the same. And John, I am coming back to your question that I've just seen. With emojis, you can see on your screen, hopefully, some examples of emojis. Now, I think the eggplant and the peach are perhaps the most famous examples of emojis that have different meanings. It's a penis and a butt is what they're used for, just in case you didn't know. Oops, no, I don't want that. Sorry, I don't want to ruin the surprise. And also, yeah, middle finger. And unfortunately, how the OK symbol has now become a symbol of white supremacists. It's actually been officially marked as a hate symbol, like the swastika. So don't use that. And it's impossible to predict because emojis are always going to have different meanings and they're going to have different subcultures attached to them. But it's just sort of being aware and making sure that the ones you're using are acceptable, safe. You can't go wrong with a smiley face. One other thing I will really stress is that emojis should be used sparingly. They are like chili powder. You just need a little sprinkle to make the post a little bit better. And there's one very obvious reason for this, and it requires an example. So I hope you've got your sound on because you need to listen to this.
You graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign y'all graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign don't graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign quick graphic clickable emoji colon, graphic clickable clapping hand sign deleting graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign yeah graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign tweets graphic clickable emoji colon, graphic clickable clapping hand sign after graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign I graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign quote graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping graphic clickable hand sign of graphic clickable emoji colon, clapping hand sign making graphic clickable.
Yeah, so it's also really hard to interpret, evidently, because it's just incomprehensible. And this is a really good example of a clapback post, which are quite common. They're usually to do with, making a point. This woman's obviously talking about people deleting her post and making them look stupid because she's talking about something that no longer exists. And visually it's kind of irritating, but you can understand it. But if you don't have the visual, you kind of, there's something about clapping and maybe, you don't know. And while this is a very specific type of post and they are sort of falling out of trend, this is a really good example of why they need to be used sparingly. You just need a couple, you just need to sift them through. And yeah, they're not a benefit. They're used in conjunction with text. They don't replace it. Oops, God, I was going to play again. Now, I just wanted to throw this in. It's a bit more cerebral, but it's also something you can do on a personal level and on a business public page level as well. And I just wanted to talk about thoughtful representation. We've all heard this catch cry, representation matters, and it particularly does, not just to young people, but also to everyone, just in general. And one of the wonderful things about social media is that while, yes, there's cyberbullying, there's awful things and hate groups and stuff, there's also, conversely, you've got plus size models, you've got disabled models, you've got people who are killing it on Instagram and who don't fit into the stereotypical idea of beauty. And because of that treasure trove of, alternate, really cool content, it's easier than ever to find really good representation, particularly in your images, video content. So, we can get away from that whole inspiration porn thing, which, just to touch on briefly, because I think a lot of people probably would have heard of that. And if you haven't, let me know and I will explain it more detailedly, in more detail. But inspiration porn is basically, if insert person with disability can overcome this, why can't you? Inspiration porn objectifies people and dehumanizes disabled people. It's basically saying, this person with no legs got out of bed today. Why can't you go to the gym or something? I don't know. It's shit. Don't do it. And you don't have to, because as I said before, there's all these like great content creators and activists and writers and artists who identify as disabled, who are out there, who are publishing stuff, who are creating things, and are more often than not really happy to work with organizations, with individuals. And, you can share things or you can post things or all this great stuff. You can build a relationship with content creators and, really build up and uplift, disabled content creators. Here's just some general tips that I wanted to include on thoughtful representation. And there's these two great GIFs that I really liked, and they're from the same creator. And we have a woman of color. This is what a film director looks like. And right next to her in the same series, we have a woman in a wheelchair who is also a film director, Jennifer Bray and Amma Asante. I'm sorry if I said her name wrong, but they're both doing great things online. You can look at their stuff right now. So, you know, when you're making a post, when you're trying to look at content, include photos that aren't objectifying, contain varied people. I mean, you don't have to include like a Happy Meal club of, you know, you have to have a brown person, you have to have an Asian person, you have to have a white person, and a little kid in a wheelchair. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. We've moved on from that token, every color of the rainbow type thing. You can really include varied people without it being kind of painfully obvious that you've just used some, you know, they just put all the colored people there and it's like, look how diverse we are. You don't have to do that. There's lots of websites out there. There's lots of content creators out there who are just taking awesome photos that are diverse. Also, where possible, try to create your own content, both in terms of it's better. It tends to be better because you can control it. And it also gives you a chance to work with people, control the narrative, talk about what you want to show. You know, you can get your own models, get your own photos. So that would be my advice. Where possible, always try to create your own content, your own representation. But obviously that's not always practical. So that's not always practical, obviously. So Unsplash is a really good website because it's user uploaded. And so a lot of people put stuff up there that's really diverse. There's specific photographers up there who are constantly uploading like just really good photos. So I would recommend that one if you need a quick stock image because it's really diverse, it's all user generated, and you know, so you get stuff from around the world. Pixels is another one. It's kind of the same sort of thing, though I think there's a fee system that I don't quite like. So I would recommend Unsplash over it, but they're just stock photos, and they have, but unlike regular stock photos, they have more varied images. Undraw, you've seen a couple of the illustrations on this slideshow. They're free to use, and they're quite, you know, she uses a lot of different models, and she uses some really great, just accessible images. You know, she's got people of color, and she's got people in wheelchairs, and they're just sort of there. They're just sort of nice images that are free to use. An absurd design is another example of an artist who's put stuff out there, who's creating things that are kind of different, interesting, and you know, you just have to attribute to them. And that's why I was talking about building that relationship, because these are just examples that I had offhand. But you know, you guys would have, you know, artists that you know, photographers that you know, and there's also people online. And you know, just build up that relationship, share stuff, talk to them, talk about options. And you know, most content creators I know are more than happy to work with people. I don't want to say for free. Some are. I'm not going to put that out there. But you know, that's about that relationship. Okay, so this is sort of a bit heavy, so I'm not going to go too deep. But I just wanted to briefly touch on the accessibility options of social media sites. The big four all have them. Some are just there, some are buried deep in the settings. Most are working towards it, some are working faster than others. It's usually at the end of the process or after the content's been uploaded that it's done. So it's not great, but it's there. So I wanted to briefly touch on it. Facebook actually has a dedicated accessibility page that they put a fair bit of effort into. Again, not perfect, but it's run by the platform, and it has like a help desk function for people connecting with Facebook who have accessibility issues. It's quite good. It's okay, it's probably a better term. But they are the only one that has a dedicated page. This is sort of touching briefly on an example of the help that Facebook offers, and it is talking about alt text. John, sorry I had to wait so long. But so Facebook, Twitter, and maybe Instagram, they do generate auto alt text. It's usually pretty crap. It's, you know, 1 or 2 words. It's like green tree, or it could contain an image of a woman when it's like a picture of a dog or something. So again, you can't rely on them. And it's also got to do with AI, and it's not there yet. The technology still needs a human to touch on it and to edit it. And so, you know, it sort of breaks down how they tell you to add alt text. And, you know, I don't want to go into it too briefly, because I don't want to go into it too detailedly, I should say, because it's really hard to explain without showing you. But basically, you edit the photo, you upload it, you edit it, and then you can add the alt text. YouTube, like I said, which is owned by Google. So Google have their own accessibility feature, but it doesn't directly link to YouTube. It's also the same as Facebook. It's very corporate and clinical, and they've got their own agenda. But I did want to put this in because it's about the closed caption and subtitling that I was talking about before. And they've just updated it so you can add closed captions. It used to be just subtitles, so just words. And now they've added features like closed captioning, so you can put in sound effects. Their example says applause or thunder. It's all through the YouTube Studio, and again, it's kind of difficult to explain while with me being here talking, but if you have any specific questions, I can go into a bit more detail. You're too ahead of the curve, Carly. Getting to Instagram. Yeah, same with Twitter. The biggest accessibility feature that they have is sorry. The biggest accessibility feature that they have, because it's just text. Text tends to be fairly accessible. Their biggest issue is alt text, and they used to be really bad. It used to be like buried in the settings, and it used to be really hard to find. But recently, within the last couple of months, they've actually started adding it to basically to the tweet. So that, yeah, it's in settings. So the accessibility features, as in if you have vision or motion issues, they're buried deep in the settings. But in terms of posting, they've actually made it really easy. So here's just a tweet I did as an example. I'd like to think I'm slightly better at tweeting, but I just did this one quickly. So do the tweet, you type your very clever comment in, and then right down the bottom, they've got add description. This is a fairly new feature, again, I'd like to point out. And that's your alt text. I think alt text is the most important on Twitter, just because they have specific text limits. As in, so using image description can be a bit difficult, particularly if you've got limited words, whereas alt text has 1,000 words limit. So you can be really detailed on your picture. And yeah, it just comes up. If you hover over the image, the description comes up, and it'll be more accessible to people with screen readers. And again, it helps with search engine optimization and keywords, and it's a really great way to get more eyes on your tweet without actually having to do anything. And Instagram. Now, as I said, because Instagram is 90% visual, it's photos, it's you know, if you don't have alt text or an image description, it's basically just, oh, I looked cute, I might delete later. And it's like, oh, okay, I think it's an image of you, I don't know, it might not be, apparently you looked cute. So it's important to add these alt text features for Instagram. And this is the main accessibility issue with Instagram, because again, it is just visual. Again, I just wanted to touch on briefly, they've also been working to make it slightly more easier to find, though it is buried in the settings. And, you know, it's like, there's a 4-step process. Again, I just did it quickly on my Instagram, and, you know, you have to do the post, and then you have to scroll through and find the settings and go to advanced settings and then write alt text. So again, it's just, they've buried it, but it's easier to find. Well, it's easier to find than it was a couple of years ago. And I haven't really touched on stories, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, Snapchat, mainly because stories either fall into videos or photos. There's no way to add alt text to a story due to their ephemeral nature, they get deleted. But they also tend to be shorter, so you can add text to the image itself, or the video can have a few captions, and you just sort of have to apply some of the video accessibility things that I was talking about before, or graphic things to the stories. It's basically just about, it's what I was talking about at the very first point. It's about thinking about accessibility options, making sure that the meaning is clear to everyone, but there is no way to add alt text to stories in any way, unfortunately. Right, now, language is the thing that people seem to freak out about. I myself have gotten nervous about language, particularly in the disability sector. So I just wanted to briefly touch on it for a couple of reasons. So again, the plain language talks about making them more accessible, and that goes into the text post that I was talking about before. All these things are connected. You know, they all work together to, they all have to work together to, I'm fairly certain the slides will be sent out, and I think the recording will be online, Celia. Yeah, so it's about making sure it's easy to understand. And just because something's easy to understand doesn't mean it has to be dull or flat. You know, you can use slang, you can use acronyms. You know, I don't think there's anyone on the planet who doesn't know what LOL means. You know, it also exists in Japanese and Vietnamese, and like this one acronym for laughing is everywhere. So don't be afraid to use slang or acronyms, particularly because this is the world where acronyms and slang exist. It's a casual place. Even for big brands, you know, you can speak a bit more casually. It's, you know, it's not a media release, it's a Facebook post. Try to avoid kind of ableist language, which can be difficult. I mean, I myself got in trouble the other day for putting the word lame in a video, and then someone jumped down my throat about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I suppose it is technically an ableist term. And so it's really easy to do. I mean, language is constantly shifting and words are constantly changing. A good rule of thumb is people first language. You know, it's about the people, not the disability. Try to avoid, yeah, you sort of have to just be a little bit more considered when talking, when writing, particularly with language. So yeah, write plainly, use acceptable acronyms, synonyms, not synonyms, appropriate acronyms, and slang. And yeah, don't panic. You know, even though social media is a very open platform and you can cop flack for saying the wrong thing, you know, it's also an opportunity to improve. You're not going to get in really big trouble unless you post something really bad, but that's a different thing. So, you know, just try to think a little bit more about language and maybe do a little bit of research, but don't panic. You know, don't be, you know, you don't have to dissect every word. You don't have to freak out. You just have to, you know, basically no, I don't even think you can be sued. I know there's a few public organizations here, so there is some defamation risk, but aside from that, you're fine. You know, no one's gonna die. It's a Facebook post. It's a tweet. Just have to focus a little bit on the language and everything's fine. And this is what I wanted to wrap on. It's my 10th point, and it's being part of the community. And today I focused a lot on technical skills, features, specific things that you can do. And there's one thing that, you know, we tend to forget about social media, particularly if we're in the industry and we use it as a tool for work. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, they all just blend together. They're social media platforms. They're about talking to people. They're about sharing information, connecting with the community. You know, for people with disabilities, you know, there are big communities out there. You know, I can share ideas with a woman in a wheelchair in the United States. We're just good mates. We just hang out and chat. You can, you know, there are Facebook groups, there's YouTubers, there's Instagram influencers, all who are people with disability or identify as such. And social media allows us to interact with those people, allows us to share issues, to talk about what we want to do, be a community basically. And it's easier to do than ever. You don't have to be in the same room. And as we've all learned with COVID, you know, you can learn, you can educate yourself being on the other side of the planet or the other side of the country. I think someone from WA is here. So hello. You know, this is something a lot of people forget. Keep social media social. It's about people. It's about connecting, good and bad. You know, you can share content, you can build people up, you can educate yourself, you can make yourself feel better, you can, you know, yes, there's bad things and awful things, but that's just human nature, that's just life. And I really just wanted to drive this point home that social media is social, it's about people, it's about talking to people, and it can be a great tool for change. One example, quite recent, that I really wanted to touch on, that's very relevant here, is with the recent bushfire crisis. There were lots of live press conferences being aired on Facebook for the first time by the ABC and the SBS, I think, mainly the ABC. And people were complaining that they couldn't see the Auslan interpreter, which on TV is quite easy to do, but with social media it was a bit harder. And so the ABC switched stuff around. They took the complaints, some nice, some not so nice. They took it on board and they were able to shift their workflow to include the Auslan interpreter in the online streams. And so that's a very easy change that the community did through social media, and that was 100% on Facebook. So, you know, the tools are out there. It's about, you know, it's about community and sharing and talking to people, and just remembering that it's the social part of media that makes social media different from television, newspapers. You know, you can get that feedback right away. So it's just something to think about. And yeah, I just really wanted to drive that point home, that being active in the community, as in the disabled community, people, whichever community identifies as itself, There's lots of groups and people tend to do their own thing, which is what you can do on social media. But be active in the community. You know, you can acknowledge days, International Day of People with Disability, and Global Accessibility Awareness Day. These are two really big ones. And so it's just, you know, you're sort of opening yourself up to the community a little bit, putting yourself out there, putting your business out there, and just, you know, being social on your social media. All right, I just wanted to briefly touch on a few useful programs that I couldn't fit anywhere else, but I wanted to mention. I can't actually see. So Easy Chirp is an accessible plugin for Twitter. It's specific for accessibility options and it's very accessible. It's more on the back end, as in it's a plugin, you have to add it, but it's a great option. AppleVis, I've used it once or twice. It's kind of good for things like LinkedIn and Facebook. And it has sort of, it's like a database and it has information on accessibility features on various apps. I wanted to touch on WordPress briefly because they have inbuilt accessibility functions that you can link to on your social media accounts. If you're having trouble linking your website or linking certain things, then WordPress is a great way to do it. And it's a bit more freedom. And that's talking about that. You know, you have the freedom to get people away from your social media accounts and into your space that you control, your website, your blog, whatever. And yeah, so like I said before, audio description for video is still very much in its infancy. I think some of the media organizations are doing it, but in terms of online, it's almost non-existent. But there is this app called UDescribe that allows you to audio describe your own videos. It's still very much in its beta phase, like it's not great, but it is out there, and I just wanted to flag it as a potential tool that could be more useful, you know, once they've sort of worked on it a little bit. But you know, there's lots of tools out there, and I you know, sometimes it's as easy as just Googling it. You know, you have something specific, turns out there is an app for it. These are just ones that I've sort of worked on myself. So if you have some, please share with the group. All right. In summarizing, I really like this quote, and it's to do with digital websites and stuff, programming. And it's Jim Benson, who I think works for Microsoft. He says that software being done is like a lawn being mowed. It's the same on social media. Things are constantly changing on their end. They're always adding new features, changing things. And on your end, you know, you're going to be learning different things. You're going to be trying different things. And so, you can always move forward. You can try the next thing. And you just have to keep cutting that lawn. You just have to keep working towards maintaining an inclusive social media presence. It's not something that you just do. It's not like a light switch being flicked on. It's you know, it's a steady increase, basically.